the actual benefits of yoga is not what in reality what it's claimed to be. So when I was introduced to yoga, I was very young. I was around 8, 9 years old, and I was told that, or read, I was reading that this all these magic powers. You can become, smaller than, you know, the smallest particle, or you can make yourself bigger than a mountain. You can make yourself heavier, than a mountain, and you can make yourself lighter than a feather, and so forth. And there's so much of magical things about it. But in reality, so I found that of the serious yoga practitioners, so I have to be careful how I say this, right? Of the serious, not even 1 in 100,000 can achieve any of these powers, right? And I'm now practicing yoga and meditation for a long time. I'm now 57 years old. I would say from the age of around 8. So it's my 50th year now, right? That I'm practicing yoga and meditation. I attained my first Saamadhi experience when I was 19 years old, and had multiple Saamadhi experiences. And it's something that I didn't like, right? Of course, it was a mind-blowing experience, right? Of course, no doubt. Total bliss, and connected with, you feel like you're connected to the Creator Himself, right? Full of love and this thing, and you can't even, it's so mind-blowing, you can't even talk, you can't enunciate any words from it, and you go into tears, and even you want to open your mouth to say something, nothing comes out of, because your mind goes into shock as well, right? It takes at least an hour before you can even enunciate any words. That's how mind-blowing it is, right? And no side effects. I mean, side effect is you become very spiritual or very religious, right? That could be a side effect, but to have some type of balance, right? But having practiced on an advanced level, practicing yoga meditation, and I'm teaching yoga meditation now for about 46 years. The difference with my teachings is, yes, I've got experience of Samadhi, but I don't know too much of technical details, too much of definitions. I'm more interested in a very simple method. Do I know all the ins and outs of yoga? Hardly. I know very little actually, right? I hardly know anything. So in Hatha Yoga, I only know a few postures that worked for me, and I only teach what worked for me. And for 46 years, my students, they all, in the first lesson, they experience a lightness, they have a positive experience after the first session, right? So this is the result. I'm results based. From meditation, I found it's very relaxing, calming, stress. And the reason I went more serious into it, I only started to get serious into meditation around the age of 32. Mind you, at the age of 19, having my first Samadhi experience, not through the pathway of meditation. I was introduced to some mantra, and the first day I started to feel bliss, and within a 2-month period, I went into Samadhi, right? Because I'm practicing Hatha Yoga and mindfulness in another way, not in the traditional way of sitting cross-legged and warm, right? I didn't do all that, right? I was just practiced because I was young, and I was more into martial arts and the yoga postures, because I wanted to be flexible, right? And I was told that it helps the internal organs and so forth. And fortunately, now science is proving that it does. In fact, the only system of exercises that treats the vagus nerve. But this is all theory. What is the practical Practically, I feel always light. I'm now 57 years old. I don't have any arthritis. Yes, I'm, blind. The last, just over 2.5 years ago, I lost my eyesight. And that is due to certain conditions physiologically. So yoga and meditation is not there. It's going to cure all your illnesses, right? I should be this thing. I'm practicing pranayama on the advanced level. I'm practicing meditation now, for a long time, daily basis, right? And the reason I took it up from the age of 32 is because to deal with the stresses of business, that I found it was a good way to time out and relax me, and feel a decrease in stress levels, and being able to be more effective in my day-to-day functionality. So that is the second important practical this thing, right? Not magical things, right? Like what I thought it was originally. And with the breath work, I found a method that can help me to control and develop my Kundalini. My Kundalini awakening, of course, is by the age of 19. I believe it was awakened before that, because a lot of people feel the Kundalini awakening must be some massive explosion. No, when you are in stress and you are inquiring, this is part of Kundalini. That you are not satisfied with what you're hearing, you want to investigate more. This passion to investigate more, go deeper and search and looking for spirituality. This is the Kundalini already awakened, right? Otherwise, you will not, otherwise you'll be complacent and just be happy with life and just worry about, enjoying yourself, right? Yoga and Boga. Boga is enjoyment of the senses. Yoga is searching for something more, and there must be more to life than what you are enjoying with your senses. This means yoga. So this is an indication your Kundalini is active if you are searching for some answers and believe there must be more to life than just eating, sleeping, going, making money and enjoying it. Enjoying your money, enjoying food, enjoying your entertainment and friends and society, and should be something more than that, right? You're looking for something. This is already the awakening of the Kundalini, right? So pranayama, I found, yes, you feel more calmer overall because your average breathing rate, right? So I can't say yes empirically, because the theory says if you go on an advanced level and practice regular pranayama, which I do every day, right? That 90% of illnesses will not affect you. And yes, I feel very healthy, and my VO2 max is good because I'm able to exercise much more effectively than average people. So I can do like my normal protocol, fitness protocol, when I had time for it. For the past year, in this last 12 months, I lived in 4 major cities across 2 countries, right? And all this traveling and, my energy healing, you're so busy, you sometimes sacrifice the fitness, but I do my yoga practice every day. And my breathwork keeps me relatively fit as well. But when I'm doing my fitness, I can, normally I'm doing 1,000 squats, because I'm going to do something that is body work exercise, and what I can do anytime, in the comfort of my home. Because of all the traveling, I can't take my gym equipment. No, my gym, I can't even have a proper contract in any particular gym, and I'm not happy with most of the gyms. And I would rather find, instead of wasting days, I'd rather be able to exercise in the comfort of my home or the comfort of my hotel room, for that matter. So I do 1,000 squats, 5,000 crunches, and 500 push-ups. Right? That's like some people say, "Oh my God, how are you doing 5,000 this thing, right?" So when someone was doing the leg lifts and they were struggling, right? I was like I think over 50 years old at the time. It was like about 6 years ago or 5 years ago, right? I think about 5 years ago, and this guy was around 30 years old, very. You can see his exercises regularly, and he was busy working out, and he was struggling, like, to do like 50. I said, "What you do?" "I do I do minimum sets of 200, very easy." He said, "Nah, show it, prove it." And then I started to do my leg lifts. When I was going, like, he was counting, I'm reaching 100. He said, "150, oh, okay." I said, "No, I'll reach 200 for you." And then I do, 5 different types of stomach exercise, 200 each. And I do 5 sets of that, right? So that's how it comes to 5,000, right? So this is due to the yoga and the pranayama, and this is an amazing thing that it improves. So you have to introduce yoga and give it time also, not overnight. So if you learn the correct pranayama method and add it to some chakra and blocking, that I do, then it's much faster. It fast forwards your progress. I had a professional boxer. He used to, he's working out 8 hours a day minimum, right? And he's 17 years a professional boxer, been fighting for money, right? And I introduced him to the breathwork method. You just have to spend about 15 minutes a day. And I did some chakra unblocking because he went through some heavy depression, so, a period in his life. And immediately within the first session, he turned around, right? He couldn't believe how his depression turned to normality, and he was feeling like very suicidal, and he didn't want to commit suicide, but he was feeling it, and he didn't like that feeling. And he turned around, he felt he couldn't believe it, was mind blown. And I taught him the breath. I said, this, do this because you're training. Within 2 weeks, he says normally he does like sets of 120 push-ups, right? And then he takes a break, and then do the next set of 120, next set, I don't know how many, right? He said now he can do 200 within 2 weeks. You can do 200 and he's not even out of breath. He can't believe. That pranayama method increased his, in his case, right? And in my case, I'm telling you, I'm doing like, 5,000 crunches is nothing, right? And, it improves your endurance, in your, so this thing that you're going to be able to become, you're going to be able to change other people. You can be in two places at the same time. And maybe it's true. Maybe someone has to be very high, advanced level, right? But I'm practicing and teaching for 46 years. I can say, with my neck on the block, that in 1 in 100,000 also is not experienced this fantastical powers, that you can control people, control nature, and control the wind, and control the rain, and you can, stop the enemies in the tracks and so forth. Enemies cannot harm you and so forth. Maybe, there can be some protection, for you miraculously, and, with faith and prayer and so forth. And I'm faith-based and so forth. It's not what it's professed to be. It is much lower than that. And I like the I don't know now whether the company Panasonic still has that logo, but decades ago I knew it was Panasonic's logo was a quest for zero defect, and they decided to quantify what was zero in the factory line, that what number of faults can be estimated into zero. So they said not 1 in 1,000, not 1 in 10,000. We want it must be absolutely that if this, they said 1 in 100,000, okay. If 1 in 100,000, only 1 in 100,000, then we'll say, okay, it's still zero defect, right? So if 1 in 100,000 can't experience all these fantastical powers, right? And being able to control the wind and say, okay, the rain must start and it must start raining, and rain must stop and it must stop raining. There's drought and you just lift your hands and it must pour, and you can walk on water, right? So yes, Jesus was able to walk on water, but how many people are like on the level of Jesus, right? So that means that's the power of being light as a feather, right? So be a bit wary about all these powers that are claimed, by these people. Talk to people who's long in it, right? Multiple people. Yes, some people can materialize something, they can materialize objects, and according to some people, this is something easy. Anyone who's not even spiritual can learn it within 6 days. They're using some type of trick, some sleight of hand, or they're using some spirit that they are colluding with, that people cannot see with the naked eye, that brings it and it appears in front of the hand. Because they can bring it in a flash, in a split second, and bring it from any location to your hand, and it looks like you materialize something in your hand, right? So you just have to learn how to communicate and form a friendship with that particular spirit, and do some type of agreement with them, and you'll be able to do that yourself as well, right? And according to the expert, they say within 6 days they can train you to do it. Train anyone to be able to materialize things like that. And there are consequences to it, right? Because you must not steal and all that, because you're going to suffer the karma of it as well. So coming back to the main point, be careful, make, informed decisions before you embark on a lifetime practice, dedicating decades of your life. And especially, I feel so sad that people are spending like 50 years and they having no progress in meditation. Just a little bit of silence and peace. You must be given realistic expectations and investigate widely so that your own expectations are realistic as well. Yes, there are many positive things. Yes, I am of the belief, because I love fairy tales, right? And I love magic and so forth, and I'm a dreamer, right? I love I believe, I'm also an entrepreneur. We believe whatever the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve, right? And there are cases that people, have achieved this. So it's possible. But how possible and realistic it is for any person to achieve, you must know what's the odds. So it's like you must know your odds of winning the lotto. So your odds of gaining, what powers, you must know the odds before you get into it and be realistic in it, right? And take care of yourself always.